Alright, welcome back everyone, back to Top Flight Computers. Today is September 12th. We are back with our 10th build of Top Flight. Right now we're doing a more budget-oriented system for client. This and actually the next video as well. One of our next builds, the 11th build, is almost an exact iteration of this with just a few upgraded parts. We'll have more to come when that video comes out. So today we are starting off with the base of the whole system, which is going to be a Ryzen 3 1200. We're going to pair that with the MSI B350 motherboard. Along with our graphics card is going to be an EVGA GTX 1050 Ti. This is the, which version is this?
CACX a 2.0.
So we got that. We got the EVGA 500 watt power supply. For storage, we're using a 1 terabyte blue Western Digital. And then we needed some, well, the RAM and the case are still actually shipping like the previous one. Big issue, annoying, but we'll get around it. So today we're using some stand-in RAM that we just had around, some Trident Z. They're just a simple 8 gig DIMMs, two of them, 3000 megahertz. And those are the RGB versions, so you'll see those. But in the final build, we're switching those out with, what were they, Ripjaws, I think? So the Ripjaw 2600, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started on this.
Okay.
Alright everyone, we are back. We unboxed everything and just laid it out. We're going to get ready to go ahead and start installing the Ryzen, the chip, the CPU cooler. We're going to throw the graphics card, the drive, and the power supply in there, also the RAM, just so we can do a dry boot before we get the case in and make sure that everything's actually rock solid and we don't need to RMA anything or anything to that effect. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris, and he's going to install the CPU cooler, or the CPU, excuse me. So with Ryzen, and especially with these MSI, what are they? Which motherboards are they? The Tomahawks. They have their little triangles that they have in the bottom right. On all Ryzen, they have a little triangle right there that you got to line up. Theirs is over there. It's a little white circle. It's kind of annoying. So with the Ryzen ones, you just drop them on in, push the lever down, and there you go. It's installed. So we took off previously. What coming installed on the majority of these motherboards are the AM4 standoffs, or for the CPU coolers and stuff, but since we're using the Ryzen stock cooler, we just unscrewed those because it's already got the mounting points on it. It's already got the thermal paste pre-applied as well, so all we gotta do is just drop it on in and then go ahead and screw it on in. Alright, so what are CPU fans right there? Can I reach it? Nope. Might have to do it this way then. So right now we're just trying to figure out how to cable manage this the best way.
There's probably still the final loop on the case.
Oh, that's true.
So if you put a cable up, you can still route it around the back.
All right, so we'll just do it from here for now. There we go. Yeah, so this kit actually came with an extension, so you can actually get to these. So as with all CPU coolers and such, you always want to tighten in a crisscross pattern, just so you get even pressure on all of the points on the CPU. And very good advice is you never tighten it too much. If you just crank it down and get it really tight, you actually risk breaking the, well, a lot. Either the CPU cooler, or even worse yet is the CPU itself. So you just want it enough. Most of these come with springs and stuff on it that keep it relatively tightened down. So you don't want to get all the springs fully compressed. There you go. Good rule of thumb is get it just up beyond finger tight. And then you plug the CPU fan into the CPU fan header, which this one is just right here. Oh, upside down. There we go. And then for just now, we're just going to tuck that out of the way. Probably could just stay there for a while, or till later. So next thing I'm going to do is do the RAM. So again, we're using the Trident Z RGBs, but these are not going to be in the final build. On the Tomahawk motherboard, comes with a very handy little doohickey, little insert that tells you which DIMMs to actually put the memory in for it to boot correctly. Since we're only using 2 DIMM slots, we're only going to be using 2 and 4. So along with these is there's a little key notch in there. You always want to get it lined up with the correct direction, otherwise it won't go in. It should be pretty decently self-explanatory, but you'd be surprised. So you just set it in, make sure those are open, and then push down so you click on both sides. And then same thing with this one. And clicked, and we're good. Alright, and now we have graphics card. Chris, you want to do the graphics card?
Sure. You gotta be sure to take this little strip off here, otherwise it will not work. Ever.
There have been many stories of those, and I've actually personally experienced a few of those as well. So, along with the same thing with the memory, is you always want the little latch on the PCIe slot to be open, which is usually just pushed down in most instances. And wait for the click. It is still going to be a little bit wobbly because there's no case to actually fully support it, but it'll be alright for now just as our tests. Alright. Okay. So, along with this graphics card, it doesn't actually require external power. It's all through the PCIe lane. So normally you would dedicate either a 6-pin, an 8-pin, or in some cases even dual 8 pins to these kind of graphics cards. But since we're not running into that, we don't have to. The motherboard will always take a 24-pin, which will go right down in here. Make sure that clicked in. And then right up here, this is the CPU power. Usually it's labeled on the actual power supply, on what it is. Sometimes it'll just be listed as PCIe or something different. You do also have to be careful because they can split, because some motherboards, just the power supply manufacturers like to cover all their bases, so some of them will only have 4, some of them will have 8. So they just basically clip together. There's a little small clip that then sets them together. And goes out like that. Awesome. Alright. And then while Chris plugs in the power supply, or down there, we're going to plug in the hard drive. So right down here you have a SATA power, which are these really long rectangular ones. You also have Molex, which is a dying connector. Not many things use that anymore. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. There's a little 90-degree bend. I don't know if you guys can really see that. There's also a 90-degree bend right there as well. So you just line them up, put it in, and then push. It's pretty simple. So now, in the motherboard box, there's the other SATA, which is the SATA data cable, which also is a smaller, but it's also a 90 degree. It will plug in right down here on the motherboard. Just clips in. Be careful with these. Don't try to pull them out because they won't come out. There's actually a little notch here and a little latch that you have to push down and brings them out. I don't know if you guys can really see that, but it opens up those little pins and such. Try not to do that. It will hurt things. And also another good tip is your SATA data you want to keep as straight as possible, so try not to kink it or bend it because that can actually affect performance on the hard drives and such. You're going to plug this one, didn't look at the way, right into there. Clips in, locked in. Alright. And Chris down here, as you can see, is just hooking up one of the monitors that we have in front of us to the graphics card just to make sure that we can see if it posts. Alright, is this plugged in? It's good? Yeah, other than plugging it into there. It's good in there?
Yeah.
Alright, so whenever you're plugging in power supply, I usually turn it off just for safe measures. When you plug it in, make sure it's plugged in.
Keyboard.
Alright, and turn it on and nothing will happen. Because, we ran into this issue last time, there's no actual power button hooked up to the computer right now. So, along with many of the motherboards, right down in here is where you actually plug in the front motherboard. So you use a screwdriver or something similar to that just to jump the contacts to kind of simulate a power, like a power button is actually clicked. So I believe it is 8 and 9 on this one. So we have 8 and 9. Should be those. No? Alright, we may need to look at the motherboard real fast. Menu. Or is it this one?
I think that is the bottom two.
Is it? Let's see. Nope, not the bottom
No.
two. Alright, let's refer to the manual real fast. Yeah, I'm fairly certain it was, I want to say it was 8 and 9. I think I left it inside the box down here. I'm going to just lift this up and you just grab that from underneath. Wish I had it on here, that'd be smart. Oh, wait, actually.
That's front audio.
Yeah, that's front audio.
Power connectors.
Mm-hmm.
CPU power.
Yeah, I need... Nope, not those.
Front panel connectors. Power switch is 6 and 8.
6
1,
and
2,
8.
3, 4.
6 and 8. So it is actually these two right up here.
Yeah, it's the two on the
Those
top.
go.
Yep.
So let's hit those.
Boom.
And we now have power. And there's the RGB RAM kicking in. So this motherboard, the Tomahawk, the MSI Tomahawk, actually has RGBs that go, well, they're not RGBs, excuse me, they're red LEDs that go on the bottom, go around the edges. So they give a nice underglow as well. I don't know if I don't think the graphics card has any RGBs
No.
or LEDs. So we have it on this monitor just off screen over here. And
we have a post. Yay.
Ryzen 3 quad core. Also.
16 gigs of RAM. Not going to have that much in the actual build. And we have our blue drive, and we're about good. Now we're all set to install Windows.
Awesome. And we won't bore you guys with all the Windows setup. That's pretty self-explanatory stuff. It's just basically follow and click along. And then we will be posting on social medias and other platforms and such on the final build and what it actually looks like, and with the pieces that are actually replaced, the RAM sticks and the actual case inside of it, final cable management and things to that effect. So guys, thanks for watching. If you liked it, like it. Dislike it, no. If you have any questions, concerns, or if you want to contact us, there will be links down in the description. If this goes up on Facebook and other things, you can just click on the Top Flight Computers. And we hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks!